This is the True Believers Bible Study with Ray McCollum. Let's figure things out.
Welcome back to the True Believers Bible Study. We're looking at the principle of first the natural and then the spiritual, the phrase used by Paul in 1 Corinthians 15 that gives us a means. It gives us a yardstick. It gives us a paradigm for understanding the scriptures. First the natural, then the spiritual. The Old Testament focuses on the natural, the physical. The New Testament focuses on the spiritual application and fulfillment of those Old Testament principles. This is represented in what we call types and shadows. Types in the Old Testament that foreshadow New Testament truth. And we've given you some examples of that in previous studies. Today, I'd like to think about the two cities in Scripture. There are two cities that dominate the Scriptures, Old and New Testament. One is Babylon, which is introduced in Genesis 11. And the other city is the unnamed city that Abraham comes out of Babylon to seek. That's in Genesis 12. Hebrews 11:8 tells us that Abraham came out of Babylon looking for a city. And later, of course, we understand that city to be Jerusalem. Jerusalem in the Old Testament, of course, was a city in the Middle East, in the land of Palestine. And Babylon was also a city that was in Ur of the Chaldees. These two natural cities, they were physical, natural cities, but they are types of the two cities in the spirit. Jerusalem, the New Jerusalem, and Babylon. And we see this presented throughout the scriptures. You can just run a concordance and you can see that Babylon represents the city of man, and Jerusalem represents the city of God. In Babylon, they were trying to build a city whose top would reach to heaven, and Babylon always represents the false religion. It's the city of man. It's man trying to get to heaven by the works of his own hands. They actually were trying to build a physical city in the natural, a real material, human-built city that would get them to heaven. But of course, Jerusalem is of God, and it is of the Spirit, where we do not come to God or get to heaven based on the works of our own hands. Jerusalem in the Old Testament was the headquarters of God, and in the Spirit that's fulfilled in the revelation of the New Testament by the church, where Jesus said, I'll build my church. He's the one who builds the church. He is the fulfillment of the dream of Jacob's ladder. In the Old Testament, Jacob had a dream, and he saw a ladder, and the bottom of the ladder was on earth, and the top of the ladder was in heaven, and God himself was standing at the top of the ladder. And that also represents the two religions. The only way to get to heaven is Jacob's ladder. It's the ladder that is supplied by God that connects heaven and earth. And that principle still works today. It still applies today. Anyone who tries to approach God by the works of their own hands, get to heaven by their own goodness, is practicing one form or other of the false religion represented by Cain, who brought the works of his hands to worship the Lord, versus Abel, who came to God in the true religion with a blood sacrifice offering for his sins. God rejected Cain, and he approved the offering of Abel. And that is a foreshadowing of how God will reject, he'll always reject Babylon, and he'll accept Jerusalem, those that are in the New Jerusalem, those that are born of God, those that are born again. And we see that God judged the works of their hands in Babylon. He came down from heaven himself, and he confused their language and scattered them, because God's curse will always be upon Babylon, the works of men, whereby they tried to build something of their own abilities to get to heaven. But he will always accept those who are born again, who come to the New Jerusalem by faith in the works of Jesus Christ. And this is another reason I'll close with this thought. I know many Christians are fearful of the so-called one world government that men are trying to build. You know, they're trying to bring the whole world under the one world government, which will eventually be run by the Antichrist, et cetera, et cetera. Friends, I'm going to tell you, that is never going to happen. God is never going to allow a Babylon to be built in this world. Men try it, but it will always fail. There will never be a one world government, because God will come down himself and confuse their language, and he will scatter them. And down through history, we've seen men try to establish a one world government, different dictators and different dreamers, evil men of the past who have tried to build a one world government. And in every case, God has confused them and destroyed. There's only one city that will last, not the natural city of Babylon, but the spiritual city of the New Jerusalem. And that is something we can rest our faith in. That's something that we need not fear. That is something we can have faith for, that God is building his city and we're a part of it. We'll be back next time with more. Till then, please like us, share us with your friends and family. Get the word out so we can get the word out. We'll see you next time.
True Believers Bible Study is made possible by people just like you. To make a donation, please visit truebelieversbiblestudy.com.